All right, here we go. So the warm-up. Let's talk absolute value for a minute. Tell me what the absolute value of negative 3 plus 4 should equal.
Negative 7 or 7.
This is negative 3 plus 4 is 1.
Oh.
So really it's the absolute value of 1, which is?
Negative.
What does absolute value do? It doesn't flip it. It is always going to be positive, right? It's a distance. Absolute value is a distance from 0. This is 1 unit away from 0. Okay? What is the absolute value of 7 minus 10? It would be 3, right? It's the absolute value of negative 3, and the absolute value is a positive 3. So it's not that it changes the sign, right? It's that it will always make it positive because it is a distance. You can't have negative distance. You have how far it is from 0. It is 3 units away from 0. Okay. What is the absolute value of 2 plus 7? 9. The absolute value of 9 is 9. Okay. So we are going to take absolute value and solve some equations. Okay. You have done absolute value stuff. You have solved equations. We're going to just put those concepts together. Okay. The first thing that you need to do, Shane, I'm up here. You should take notes and listen. The first thing you should do with absolute value equations is you want to isolate the absolute value. That means you want to get the absolute value bars all by themselves on one side of your equation. Okay, get it alone. Once you've done that, then you're going to write 2 equations. Okay, because whatever you're working with, if you think of, like, take a look at this, for instance. Okay, the absolute value of some number equals 5. What solutions could you put inside those bars?
2 plus 3.
Okay, not a new equation. What number could x be? It could be negative 5, right? The absolute value of negative 5 is 5. It could also be a positive 5, okay? So you always write 2 equations because there's what that expression could be a positive or that expression could be a negative. Khalees.
Wait, what are the 2 lines for?
Absolute value. That means absolute value. That says how far are we from 0? That's what absolute value means. What is the distance? Like if we're looking at a number line, okay, this is 0. The absolute value of x equaling 5 means I could go 5 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, or I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. Right? So 5 or negative 5 is 5 units away from 0. So whenever they say absolute value, they're saying this is the distance from 0. 5 units to the left or 5 units to the right. Okay? Okay, so let's just take a look. It says your first equation, when you write 2 equations, your first equation should look exactly like what you see in the problem. So up here, if I'm going to write 2 equations from this, my first equation is x equals 5. I just take away my bars. Okay, so that's my first equation. My second equation changes the sign away from the absolute value bars. So right now it's x equals 5. My second equation is x equals negative 5. Okay, so I change the sign from positive to negative, and then I solve them. Well, luckily on this one, there's nothing to solve, right? This is your answer. X equals 5 and x equals negative 5. For those of you that like shortcuts, I'm totally fine if you want to write it like this, x equals plus or minus 5. If it's the same number and one's positive and one's negative, you can write it like this, or you may write it like that. Don't write just one thing, okay? Plus or minus tells me this is 2 answers. If you just tell me x is 5, it is wrong, okay? So 5 and negative 5.
Is 7 and negative 7 or 7?
This one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for this one, the first step is isolate. How do you isolate your absolute value on one side of your equation right now? Take away the 2. So we're going to go -2 and -2, and we get the absolute value of x equals 7. Once you have isolated, then you're going to write how many equations? 2. You're going to write one exactly as you see it. Just take away the bars. The second one, you do what to? Change the sign. Make it negative. So if x equals 7, x could also equal -7. Okay, so that's a perfectly acceptable answer. Or you could say x equals ±7. Okay, I don't care which of those you do. That's up to you. Good morning. Thank you. All right, take a look at this one. How would we isolate our absolute value? Plus 5. Plus 5. So the absolute value of n equals 3. Now what?
Take away the sign.
You've isolated, so we're going to take away the bars and say n equals 3 and n equals -3. Because I could put 3 in here or I could put -3 in there and it will still equal 3. Okay, so it's this or it's this. Okay, you don't need to write both. Pick which one you like better. Khalees.
Wait, so if like n equals 2 different numbers,
Then you can't do the plus or minus. Yeah, if it was like n equals 2 and n equals -4, then you just have to leave them separate. It's just when it's the same integer, positive or negative, that you can do that. Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, I have one other thing to show you about this that I didn't put in the notes, and I'm not sure why I didn't, but let's just do a letter D here. What if I say the absolute value of x plus 4 equals 1? The absolute value of x plus 4 equals 1. Your first step is to subtract 4. So this says the absolute value of x equals -3. Does anyone see the problem?
You can do positive, right?
Negative, so then isn't it just the same as 3 away?
Oh, it's just negative.
Absolute value does what to a number? Makes it positive.
So it has to be
So can you get the absolute value of a number equal to a negative? You can't, okay? So be careful. If you ever see this, that is no solution. Okay? I should add that on here so I don't forget. Okay. Take a look here. This looks scary because, word problems, everybody loves them, but it's not as scary as it seems. It says starting from 100 feet away, your friend skates toward you and then passes by you. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. Her distance d from you in feet after t seconds is given by this equation. Okay? It says, at what time is she 40 feet from you? So here's the situation. You're here. Your friend starts over there and is going to skate past you. How many times can she be 40 feet away from you? Twice, right? She could be 40 feet that way. Then she gets closer, further, and now she's 40 feet that way. So 2 times that she could be 40 feet away from you in this scenario. So we need how many equations? 2, right? So basically what we're saying here is if we want to know when she's 40 feet away, that's her distance away from you. So what do you put in for D?
40.
40.
And negative
Well, so the initial equation, right, is 40. So it looks like this. Okay, 40 equals 100 minus 20t. We want to solve for t. There is absolute value in this problem. And when there is absolute value, you need two equations. So we're going to turn this into 40 equals 100 minus 20t for one of them. What's the other equation going to be?
Negative 40 equals absolute sine 100 minus 20.
Make it the negative, right? So it's, I mean, if it helps you to flip it around and put this over here, that's totally fine too. But we want to change the isolated thing, the thing that's by itself. The 40 becomes a negative 40, still 100 minus 20t. And then you just solve both of those, okay? So if we solve this, take away the 100, so negative 60 equals negative 20t, then what do?
You divide by negative.
Divide.
both sides.
Okay, so that's t equals 3. Okay, now do it over here. We're going to take away 100. So a negative 140 equals a negative 20t. And then we're going to divide. So t is 7. What does that mean?
That
This seconds, like time.
It's seconds.
so
What's
3
happening?
seconds away one way and 7 seconds away another.
So at 3 seconds in, she's 40 feet away, right? So she probably started, well, we could figure out where she started. I'm not going to do the math right now. She started beyond 40 feet away from me. After 3 seconds, she was 40 feet. She kept going, kept going, kept going.
7 more
After
seconds.
7 total seconds, she was 40 feet this way.
Wait, so
that make
is
sense?
it, like after the 3 seconds, is it 4 more seconds or
4 more seconds. 7 total seconds in the problem. So she is, I would say something like this. She's 40 feet from me at 3 seconds and 7 seconds. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. For the rest of your math career, when you see absolute value bars and you are solving equations, you have 2 options. You will either get 2 equations or you will get no solution. 2 equations out of the mix or no solution at all. Okay? Absolute value bars should make you think 2 equations. What?
There's no identity.
With absolute value? No. Hi. What's up? You what?
We have a tour there.
Oh, you're touring. Welcome. Welcome to Valley. Okay, moving on. We're going to get a little bit fancier. There's lots going on here, but you guys know the process. This is just like solving multi-step equations, but we're going to bring absolute value into it. Good morning. Do you guys know any of these people? Are you what, Lakewood Christian? Yeah? Welcome. Tell me the first thing you would do to solve. Subtract the 12. Okay, so we're going to go minus 12 minus 12. So it's 3 times the absolute value of 2z plus 9 equals negative 2. What comes next?
divide by 3.
Divide by 3. So you get the absolute value of 2z plus 9 equals negative 2/3. Now what?
Wait, how did the 3
You divide by
2z?
Because it's like, okay, imagine, so here's the deal. Absolute value bars are not parentheses, but sometimes they kind of work like parentheses, right? Because I'm saying 3 times this whole thing. So it's not this, but it's like that, right? 3 times x equals something. If I divide this by 3, I don't have to divide this by 3 also, right? I'm saying 3 times x divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is
So,
1.
the letter,
They go away.
like, the number with the letter thing or whatever, like, you don't have to divide that.
You don't have to divide this. You don't have to divide this. Because this is being multiplied by that. So I'm doing the opposite of multiplying, and I'm dividing.
You're just trying to get rid of the 3.
I was getting the 3 out of there. Yes.
Okay, so
Get the
then
3
don't,
out.
like, count that 3 except in like, the whole side, like for the negative.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Khalees.
Wait, why are they touring us?
To see if they want to come here next
I
year.
remember one of the girls from cheer clinic.
They're 8th graders trying to see if they want to come here next year.
Her name was like
And that's why they're out.
Audrey.
Because they bring a bunch of
Only to 8th grade.
they stop at 8th grade. So we are like, they're a feeder school for Valley Christian. Did any of you come from LCS?
Nope.
You love to lie to me.
She likes
Okay.
She used to do cheer clinic
I
out
bet
of
you don't mind over
What?
the girl with the blonde hair. Aubrey. We were all with blonde hair. I remember her from cheer clinic. And then remember her.
Oh.
You know who Sydney Oshman is?
Your hair's black.
No.
That's her little sister.
Gotcha.
Well, not her, another girl.
Okay. Okay. Back to it. So we're here. Shh, come back to me. This is no solution. Why is this no solution? Because once you have isolated, if there's a negative, you can't do it. This is no solution. Okay? So isolate your absolute value, and then if it's a negative on the other side, it is no solution.
So if it's ever negative on the other side, it's always no solution?
Once your absolute value is isolated, once there's only, like this one, okay, look at this one. You cannot say right now, no solution, because we still have something over here that's not absolute value.
Oh.
So you first have to move it.
Once you add the 5 to the -7, then.
Now you can, yep. So now it's 3x minus 6 absolute value equals -2. Now we can say no solution, because the absolute value of something cannot equal a negative, okay? So this is another no solution.
Wait, if something in the absolute value is negative, is it
If something inside of the absolute value is negative, yes, yeah.
Wait, so absolute value turns it positive?
Absolute value makes it positive because it's talking about a distance from 0. I am 7 units or -7 units from 0. So that's 7 units away from 0, one way or the other. So if I were going to graph like this one, if I were going to graph this, you have 0, -5, and +5. My answers are 5 and -5. Just 2 points. Did they ask you to graph?
Yeah, it says solve each equation.
Oh, I don't need you to graph. No. You'll graph the inequalities tomorrow. Yeah, you don't have to graph these guys. Yes. Okay.